In this video, I'm going to turn this abandoned, forgotten mansion back to a usable, stunning outdoor space. 3 years ago, I realized I had a passion for restoring outdoor spaces. And today, I get to bring you one of the biggest and best cleanups I have ever done. Which brings us to this point right here and right now. Pound's house, located in Plymouth in the UK, has been left abandoned by the local council for several years. Left to become unforgotten, and I felt this was criminal given just how stunning this beautiful home could look once restored. There is so much history about this house, and later in the video I will explore the depths, showing you such things as a World War II air raid shelter, the amazing launch party once the house was reopened. But for now, let's get to work and let's begin this cleanup on this amazing, stunning Pound's house. So the sweeping was the easy part. Up until now, all I'd really done was remove the loose debris that had built up over the years. But this was the moment that we'd all been waiting for. For the first time, we were about to see what was actually hiding beneath the dirt. Standing here, it was difficult to tell whether the surface underneath had survived years of weather, foot traffic and neglect, or whether the damage had already been done. Historic buildings like Pound's house have a story written in every stone and every pathway. And sometimes you only get one chance to uncover it properly. So as I fired up the turbo nozzle and started making those first passes, we were about to get a real glimpse of what this place was meant to look like. And this was just a start of what was about to unfold over this amazing cleanup. Now I know what most of you are probably thinking, and no, it's not about me looking like an idiot with my pressure washer. It's why didn't I clean the stone walls next to the path? Now you will see that later in the video the stone walls were actually cleaned, but for now, this section here is the rooftop of the air raid shelter, which I'm going to show you again later in the video. But just have a look how much algae and dirt are on these walls. The mansion itself is over 200 years old, and honestly, I don't think this has ever been cleaned. And this part was one of my favorite parts of the cleanup, just purely for the before and after photos I was able to get. But other than that, I hope you're enjoying the video so far, and yeah, the best is yet to come. So before we carried out the cleaning, I was given the rare opportunity that a few people ever get. Most visitors to Pound's house only see a small part of the estate, but hidden behind these walls are rooms and stories that many people don't even know exist. As I was shown around the property, I got to step inside the grand ballroom, a room that hosted countless events over the years and remains one of the most impressive spaces in the entire building. But what fascinated me the most was something hidden beneath the house. Tucked away was a World War II air raid shelter, built to protect people during some of the darkest days in British history. Standing down there, it was hard not to imagine what it must have been like during the war. But it was a reminder that Pound's house isn't just another building we're cleaning, it's a piece of Plymouth's history, and preserving places like this is exactly why projects like this matter. By this point, I had already made huge progress. The garden was finally starting to look part of Pound's house again, and for the first time all day, you could actually begin to imagine how this place was meant to be seen. By the section ahead of us was where the transformation would really start to become visible. Years of dirt, algae, and weather staining had completely changed the appearance of these surfaces, and until we started cleaning them, it was impossible just to know how much of the original character was still hiding underneath. As I fired up the surface cleaner, I had a feeling we were about to uncover one of the most satisfying transformations of the entire project. This was the moment where the project stopped looking like a cleanup and started to begin to look like a restoration. Now, I can always see a story unfolding when I get stuck into a restoration like this. I knew once I had restored this outdoor space, the after party was going to be unbelievable for everybody invited. To be given the opportunity to restore this house with so much history, I was honestly taken back by it. And not only that, I knew I could document it and create an amazing story for you guys watching at home. And when I begin to clean the walls later in the video, you will see just how amazing this place looks for anybody walking past or visiting the area. As I stood here watching the steam roll across the stonework, I couldn't help but think back to where the business started. A few years ago, I was cleaning driveways much smaller with a much smaller setup, never imagining one day I'd be working on one of Plymouth's most historic buildings. Investing in the steam system was a huge risk. It wasn't cheap, and there were plenty of moments where I questioned whether I'd made the right decision. But standing here at Pound's house, seeing what I was capable of, it finally felt like the gamble was paying off. Sometimes during a project like this, there's a moment where everything changes. A moment where you stop focusing on the next task and finally take a step back to see what you've achieved. As the stone walls transformed beneath the steam, the moment that arrived, what had started as a collection of dirty surfaces was beginning to feel like Pound's house again. The colours were returning, the details were reappearing, and the entire estate seemed to come back to life just before our eyes. For the first time all week, I could imagine and picture the finished result, and it was going to be even better than I had imagined. With the main stone walls now looking better than they had in years, it finally felt like we were gaining some momentum. Everywhere we looked, the transformation was becoming impossible to ignore. But the project was far from over. Tucked away on the far side of the estate was an area known as the Pond Garden, a quieter, more secluded part of Pound's house that had been left exposed to the elements for years. If the areas we'd cleaned so far were impressive, this section had the potential to completely steal the show. With the walls behind us and the estate slowly coming back to life, it was time to move on to the next chapter of the restoration. Now, as impressive as the transformation has been so far, this was the area I was most excited about. Pond Garden wasn't just getting cleaned, it was getting completely reimagined. The owner had ambitious plans for this space, including a brand new pond, featuring lighting and a full garden makeover. This would completely transform into one of the most standout areas of Pounds House. Knowing that a launch event was just around the corner, complete with guests, entertainment and a fireworks display, there was a real sense of pressure to get everything looking its absolute best. As I stood looking across the garden, I knew this area had the potential to be something truly special. The challenge now was making sure the surrounding stonework and pathways matched the vision. If we got this right, I had a feeling this would become one of the most spectacular parts of the entire project. After days of planning, preparation, and hard work, the moment has finally arrived. Standing here now, it's almost impossible to believe this is the same Pounds House we first arrived at. What started as a project focused on cleaning stone, pathways, and walls had become something much bigger. With every surface restored, every detail uncovered, and every section brought back to life, the true character of this incredible estate could finally be appreciated once again. As the guests began to arrive and the grounds filled with people, there was a real sense that all their effort had been worthwhile. Areas that had been hidden beneath years of dirt and weathering were now on full display, forming the perfect backdrop for a truly special event. The newly transformed pond garden, the restored pathways, bright stonework, and the historic features of the estate all come together exactly as we had hoped. But for me, the most rewarding part wasn't the cleaning itself, it was seeing people enjoy the space again, seeing a historic property like Pound's House looking its best, ready for the next chapter in its story. Buildings like this are more than just bricks and stone. They hold memories, history, and connection to the community that surrounds them. As darkness fell and the fireworks lit up the sky above the estate, it felt like the perfect way, not just the completion of the project, but the restoration of something truly special. From the hidden air raid shelter beneath the house to the grand ballroom, from the forgotten pathways to the spectacular gardens, every corner of Pound's House had its own story to tell. As I stood back and took one final look, I couldn't help but feel proud to have played a small part in helping bring this remarkable place back to life. And it was even more special to be able to bring my children and partner to the event to top off what was an exceptional evening. And if you have enjoyed this video, there will be another one that will pop up in the bottom left corner, and I'm sure you will love that video as well. But for now, let's leave you with this spectacular firework display, and thanks for watching.